Hello, and welcome to Collect Jurassic World. I'm Victoria.
And this is Tim.
And we are your hosts on this adventure through all things Jurassic World.
Welcome back to the show, park goers. We have an epic show this week covering all kinds of new Jurassic Park toys and collectible news. We'll jump right in and head right over to the park control room.
Hey, Tim. A lot going on right now, but you know what? Guest satisfaction is steady. It's in the low 90s.
Great.
And we, in fact, have a lot to talk about because San Diego Comic-Con 2019 is just wrapped. I was there. I saw a lot of cool stuff. And there's a lot to talk about as well in asset tracking. So, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Cool. Yeah. So like you said, you were there. So I'm going to just kind of bear witness as you kind of describe everything. And maybe I'll jump in with, things I noticed too, kind of looking at the show remotely. But you were able to attend on Saturday. We obviously got our kind of glimpse at the show through the weekend. But let's start with the Mattel booth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, okay. So Mattel had their setup as they always do at Comic-Con, and there was a lot to see. So they basically had their booth divided into different sections. So, you walk in. The big thing this year seemed to be Masters of the Universe because they're bringing that in a huge way back to the forefront of everything that Mattel does. So it's going to be a huge thing later this year. So that was a huge focus. They also had a big section for wrestling. Obviously, they produce all these wrestling toys. And then they also had a big section for DC. They are, I think, losing the license, last we heard, from for DC Boys to Spin Master, which is a different company. So kind of what they did, it seemed like they were trying to celebrate everything they've done with DC. They had like a huge setup of lots of Batman focused figures that they've produced like over the last 15 years. So that was pretty cool to see. There were literally like tons and tons and tons of them. They also have like the Batman cowls that they used in the actual films over the years. So that was pretty neat as well. And then at the very back of that, they had their Jurassic World section. So basically they had their booth set up into 4 sections, and Jurassic was at the back. I think overall it was the smallest area, which isn't to say that there wasn't a lot there, because they did have a lot on display, but it wasn't really a lot of new stuff. But it really was a good way to demonstrate how far they've come in the past year and, a couple months, however long the line's been out. So basically, they had this really tall, I would say maybe like a 12-foot tall, glass case, and tons of dinosaurs were in there, all kinds of species, repaints, all sorts of stuff that they've done, from Legacy to Battle Damage to the main line. All of it was in there. So it was really cool to see, just all these, this huge mass of dinosaurs, different ones. And there were a few new ones in there. There was the new Spinosaurus, the Battle Damage version. So that was kind of the main focal point in the middle of this case.
Yeah, and we've seen that one. So that wasn't like a big giant reveal. It was sort of just like, oh, cool, there it is. It's still coming.
Right. Nothing that we didn't already know about was on display, other than if you want to, say the Amber collection, which, we've kind of already known about that. So,
well, there were a couple figures in that case that maybe we hadn't seen before. Just we might have known about them, from the Jurassic Facts app, which we talked about a few shows ago. The app updated, and they kind of has a bunch of dinosaur profiles in there for figures we don't know about. So we were able to see at least a couple of those in this case of dinosaurs, right? I mean, basically there was
like the Baryonyx.
Right, yeah. The red Baryonyx, which, another colorway for the Baryonyx. It's pretty cool. It looks like it has battle damage on the leg. There's a little bit of red scarring on one of the legs. And then, what was the other one? A Triceratops, right?
Right, yeah, that's true. A Triceratops. And I actually think this is probably the best looking one yet.
Oh, cool.
Interestingly, the blue Triceratops that they had back at Toy Fair wasn't on display, so I'm kind of a little worried that that's not going to happen, but I don't know.
I think in the Facts app we have enough Triceratops in there that this accounts for that. There's a blue one in there, and there's a mystery one, which must be this new brown Triceratops. And it's dual attack, right? It's not a Roarvor, it's an actual dual attack.
Right. It is a dual attack. And they also had the Brachiosaurus on display with the Mosasaurus, kind of in their own little glass case. And then on the other side of this wall, like to the left, was where they had the 6.5 inch amber collection. So they had Ian Malcolm, they had the Jurassic Park Velociraptor, they had Owen, and then Velociraptor Blue. So, just a cool way to see these figures up close and, kind of get a better sense for scale.
Yeah, I don't think here on the show we've even talked about, I think since the last time we recorded, those images came out of Malcolm and Raptor. So we haven't even really talked about that here on the show. And then here at actual Comic-Con, you got to see that Blue and Owen were still coming too, so we kind of got treated to 4 figures, that are imminent in a way, and we're actually getting to see not prototypes, but what appears to be like basically what the figures are going to be. So the Raptor looks so cool. I mean, Malcolm looks great too, but to me, what I'm most excited about is owning a Jurassic Park Raptor. The coloring on it just looks so true to the film, which I'm sure that's what they're going for.
Yeah, it looks awesome, and I completely agree. Like this Raptor, like I want like 3 of them. I mean, I can't. I know, like when you're thinking, okay, these are $30, it's kind of hard to, like flesh out like a little herd as easily it is with 3 3/4 inch. But when you see it in person, it's like, how can you not have like, the pack? Like you kind of feel like you need all 3 of them to, to do that. Yeah. So
it's not like you need
it
multiple,
looks incredible.
Not like you need multiple Malcolms. You can put all your money toward multiple Raptors.
Yeah. And they look incredible.
Tons of articulation.
All 4 of them, really. Tons of articulation, highly detailed. The sculpts have been refined since we saw them at Comic-Con last year. So, they definitely look a lot more proportionate. It looks like the likenesses have been tweaked a little bit as well, so they look even better.
Yeah, Malcolm looks a lot better, I'd say. I really thought, too, one of the things I noticed about the Owen figure was the plastic they're using is obviously a higher quality plastic, but something about the way the Owen figure looks versus like the 3 3/4 Owen figure, which looks great too, great likeness, but in the 6.5 inch, something about the plastic and the kind of the matte finish and the way it kind of takes light, it just looks like much more like a human and less like a plastic toy, and makes it feel more high end. Just right there, the fact that it kind of has this nicer plastic they're working with, and there's all this detail in the shirt, all these little folds in the way the fabric of Owen's like thin shirt he wears under his vest. I mean, they just did a really good job with plastic, making these details feel like a high-end collectible. It's not like a Hot Toys figure that's several $100s with fabric clothes, but what they worked with, they really made look very high-end and very like hyper detailed almost. And I've heard a little bit somewhere that the Raptors, their tails have a wire in them, but it's like this high grade wire. It was the way to go versus articulation was going to add too many seams. So I'm not too worried that the fact that the tails are bendable wire. I think that probably was the right call to make the figure kind of look seamless in a way.
Yeah, no, they look really good, and I'm really excited about all the articulation. I'm a huge fan of. I know we've touched on before the Beasts of the Mesozoic that David Silva made, and highly articulated. I have one of his Raptors actually right next to me on my desk right now, and these aren't going to be quite that on that level, but they're going to be the closest that we've ever gotten in the Jurassic line to that. So
yeah, I'm curious how they will scale with Beasts of the Mesozoic. I have a few of those myself. They're just they're so articulated that like you don't know what to do with them sometimes because their legs. There's just so many poses you can do with them, which I think for these Amber Collection Raptors, they're not quite as intense. So I probably won't have that problem as much. But there is such a thing as too much articulation in my book.
Yeah, well, the Beasts of the Mesozoic are 1/12 scale, so they are in scale with 6-inch figures, and these new Jurassic Amber figures are also going to be 6-inch scale, so they should scale up pretty nicely.
Yeah. So a little bit about what we know about the Amber Collection, since what was probably covered since we last recorded is a GameStop exclusive, which before everyone freaks out about another exclusive. GameStop has a pretty good track record with fulfilling exclusives. You're able to pre-order them online, which is the case with these, which we'll talk about later. But their pre-orders are usually something you can order online. You'll probably be able to find them in store too, but they do kind of have a system in place so that collectors are able to order them ahead of time. And the price points, I think Malcolm and the Raptor are the only figures that are coming out right now. I assume Owen and Blue are a different wave.
Right.
But I think it's $25, $24.99 for Ian Malcolm and $29.99 for the Velociraptor. So kind of what we all expected, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good thing that GameStop is picking these up versus other store. I mean, not that other stores would necessarily do a bad job, but like you said, they have a pretty good track record with things like NECA exclusives and Jurassic, with Star Wars exclusives and Marvel. So
I think
they even had
for a brick and mortar store, I couldn't wish for better than GameStop. If we were saying like online, maybe something like Amazon or Entertainment Earth, but I'd say if they want to carry these in stores, they want people to be able to buy them and walk up and buy them, GameStop is a pretty good call.
Yeah, it is. And when I've heard a few people voice concerns that, if you don't live in the U.S. and have a GameStop, that you're out of luck. But that's not necessarily true, because in Canada, GameStop owns EB Games. They're basically the same company, and they pick up practically all the exclusives that GameStop has. So,
is that historically pretty true?
Yeah. They pretty much have all the same exclusives, same merchandise and stuff. So I imagine these will be available through there as well. In fact, I'm going to check out right now just to see if they're
I did hear
listed
someone
on there.
rumbling early on that they checked with EB Games and they said no. But sometimes this information is so fresh that a customer service rep might not know, the full plan with it. And even if outside of Canada, outside of EB Games, look at the Brachiosaurus. It was something that, all the fans got really excited about. We knew it was going to be exclusive here in the U.S., but Mattel assured us they were marketing it for international markets. They're going to do their best. And here we are. We know that the Brachiosaur is coming to multiple countries outside the U.S. And I think the Amber Collection is going to be the same kind of deal. It's going to find its way out in different stores and different places. But here in the U.S., it's going to be GameStop exclusive, which, I can live with if it's something that I can pre-order and pick up in the store rather easily. And it's showing that, it's not a department store, but a smaller company has a real interest in this collection, and maybe that gives it a better shot at living a little longer and kind of, developing more toys down the line for this line, because GameStop kind of has some support with it.
Right, yeah. And I assume that these will be available elsewhere. I haven't heard anything concrete yet, but it's still very early in the game in terms of this news. I mean, it's literally just been out for the last week or so.
Yeah.
I do anticipate we'll learn more as time goes on, where, distribution will take place on the global level.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, it's been 4 days, so who knows? By this time next week, we could be hearing about other release plans for sure. So very exciting stuff. Amber Collection is obviously not competing with the 3 3/4 inch. It's definitely complementary to it. It's a much smaller, not smaller scale. That's confusing, but smaller, in its kind of ambition, as far as we're not going to get the immense amount of 3 3/4 dinosaurs in a 6-inch line. It's just not going to happen. That would be crazy. So it's definitely going to be more of a limited run, or not a limited run, but a kind of a limited
more
assortment.
Focused.
Yeah, which I think is great. And I think, we'll talk about the Mattel panel here in a little bit, and they kind of winked and teased at a few things. And I think we're going to see some really cool stuff come out of this line, as long as it's, still supported and still being carried in the future. So very cool stuff.
Yeah, and it's not going to kill the 3 3/4 inch line, because it is so small and it is a retailer exclusive.
Exactly. Yeah. So there you go. Just more reasons why it's not going to, but very cool. Definitely one of the bigger things to come out of, the Mattel booth, being able to see that in person. But there was a couple other things in the Jurassic booth too, right? I know there was like a photo op.
There was what was that, Tim? Uh-oh. Shoo, little guy. Shoo. Hang on.
Did something follow you back from the con?
It seems like something followed me into the control room. This is a phase 2 real world. Can we get something to deal with this, please? All right. We'll wait for our Raptor Wrangler to come and take that little guy away. And yeah, so they did have a really cool photo op, and it was basically, like you said, it was the like a hatchery, basically a bunch of eggs. You could actually pick them up, and they were like attached into the hatchery, so you couldn't run off with them. I heard somebody stole one, which is really annoying. But
of course.
Yeah, but, that's what happens, I guess, when you let people touch things, right? But yeah, they were really cool. They felt really cool. They were pretty heavy. And they were basically like in this grass inside this hatchery. And in the backdrop, you had your characters, Dr. Grant, Dr. Sattler, Dr. Malcolm, and John Hammond. And, you could just kind of like squeeze in there and, take a picture with them. And it was lit from above. So it wasn't the best lighting if you're conscious about how you look in lighting. But it was still a really fun photo op. And it's really cool that they actually had that.
Yeah, it looked like, lighting aside, it looked like something about it just seemed very much like the photo backdrop, and then the eggs themselves was almost seamless. They did a really good job making it feel like it was the movie scene that you could step into. So at least from the photos on social media, I think the illusion was definitely captured perfectly. So that was just kind of a cool thing on top of all the toys and stuff that they were able to fit that in there. And obviously, it's kind of an allusion to Hammond, which was the Comic-Con exclusive figure. So kind of advertising that in a way.
Yeah, definitely. And also, tying into, I think, Amber collection to some extent, because, they did have, Malcolm, the classic Raptor. But I think that was also, a big part of it was, they were, it's an off movie year, so they have a little bit more of an opportunity to focus on, the characters that are from the older films. So that was really cool. And it was a really popular photo op. There were a lot of people that were trying to take advantage of that. So that was really neat to see.
That's right. Jurassic Park is still king. We love Jurassic World here, obviously, but it's all about Jurassic Park. And it's cool to see that they leaned into that for the show, and they didn't, pick a Mosasaur or Indominus Rex or something like that to make that photo op. So.
Yeah. The one issue that I did see with the booth is that, so there was a photo op that was actually in the Mattel booth, which I thought was a little strange. I don't know if it was because it was part of the, what are they called? Like the Mega, what is that brand?
Mega Blocks?
Not Mega Blocks. It's kind of like construction. Like
Mega Constructs?
Yes.
That is Mega Blocks. It's the same thing, but yeah.
Okay. Is that Mattel?
Yeah, Mega Blocks rebranded, I think, a couple years ago. I don't know. Tom Jurassic would know way more about this than me, but Mega Blocks rebranded to Mega Constructs in recent memory, just to kind of change up the name, I guess, for certain toy lines, I think.
Yeah, so they had a huge, really awesome, Game of Thrones display right outside the Mattel booth. And then inside the Mattel booth, they actually had the Iron Throne made out of Mega Constructs, I guess.
Yes.
And the line, was constantly, super long to get in there. And basically, the line would get to it would kind of, butt up against, the Amber collection and, where they had that really big glass display of all the dinosaurs. So, I posted a video of, the booth, and one of the things you hear when I'm there filming is, there's a guy saying, okay, you can't block this area. It was the area where the dinosaurs were. You got to keep walking back. The line's capped off. And so, yeah, that was the only issue is that, that line kept getting out of control and people were kind of just not really looking at the dinosaurs, but just kind of blocking it off.
Yeah, no. That's not cool.
It's not, but they tried to keep it, I guess, clear as best they could. But yeah, that was a great photo op, though. I'm glad they had that because I took advantage of it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I know there was one other thing in the booth. You mentioned that people were standing in front of this case of dinosaurs, but they were probably treated to a nice little show there. There was a TV screen that was playing toy photography from the community, from you for sure, and from a bunch of other people, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that take toy photography of these Mattel Jurassic World toys. And it was really cool because they had this ongoing kind of slideshow of different shots with the tags associated with them. So that was awesome. You recorded the whole thing, and I think a lot of people shared that video out and watched it just to see who all was included. And they included a bunch of shots, all of last year's figures, this year's figures. It was just very, very kind of, a great mix of different things.
Yeah, that was really cool to see. I think one of the coolest things is when these companies that, we put a lot of time and energy into focusing on them and, supporting them with our money. I love to see when they actually have some sort of outreach to their, fan bases and communities that are, buying these items. And I think Mattel's done a pretty good job with, reaching out to the consumer. And this is a really good way to do that, is to kind of embrace the community that's out there, taking photos of the product and showcasing them in their spare time. And yeah, it was really nice to see that. And there were tons of photos on there. And yeah, I did post the full video on Twitter. The full video is also in my Mattel clip of their booth over on my YouTube channel. If anyone wants to check that out. But yeah, it was really cool to see. And they featured a ton of people in there. And,
you had a bunch 3 of though, right? 3 shots? 2?
No, it was like 4 or 5. I think.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
4 or 5 shots. Yeah. So yeah, no, that was really cool to see. And I was pointing out to my husband, like, yeah, that's mine. That's mine. That's mine. Just like,
that's so cool. No, that's great.
I felt kind of proud.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of other people in there, and it was just, like I said, it was a good mix, tons of different photos, different scenes. And it was just really cool. I technically had a photo in there, but it really wasn't my photo. It was actually belonged to someone whose Instagram handle is talker_art. They gave me permission to post a photo of the Brachiosaurus. I think they took it at the one of the licensing expos or something, the Mattel Brachiosaurus, and they're like, sure, post the picture, which Collect Jurassic is a lot of Jurassic news, so therefore it's a lot of reposts. So when Mattel put my photo in there, it really wasn't my photo. So shout out to Talker Art for letting me be in the Mattel slideshow, even though it technically wasn't me. But I do have toy photography on the feed, but it's just hard to find. So way more happier for everyone else that got to kind of show off their shots. There's just some awesome stuff in there. And I mean, that's one thing I love about collecting toys. Even these past like 6 months, like there's just a new toy photographer everywhere you look, and they're all amazing, and they're all doing these really cool, unique, interesting ideas. And other thing I think is really cool is when you see multiple people take on the same idea and kind of how other people interpret it, like famous movie scenes, like the T-Rex breakout. I've seen so many toy photographers kind of take a different look at that scene. So that's what's cool about toy photography, and that's what's cool that Mattel recognized it and made it part of their booth this year. Sure.
Yeah, that was really cool. And Hasbro had something similar, actually. It's really cool to see these companies, just embracing their communities. I love that.
Yeah, right, for sure. Well, we can talk a little bit about Mattel more later when we get to their panel, which happened Friday, I think. But there was some other Jurassic at the show, right, besides Mattel?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Chronicle Collectibles, they've been pretty big on producing Jurassic Park and Jurassic World items for the last few years. They did have some new stuff on display, in addition to some stuff we'd seen before. One of them was the Dr. Grant 6-scale figure. It's a 12-inch figure. They had this on display in 2017, along with, I think it was Owen at the time. And for whatever reason, they just kind of disappeared, and we never heard anything about him again. But Dr. Grant was back. But this time he was joined by a 1/6 scale Velociraptor from the original film. And I was wholly impressed with this. Like, I thought that it looked freaking incredible. I don't normally go for Chronicle. I know we've talked about this before. It's just a little bit outside of what I, typically do. They're pretty expensive, but I think I'm going to have to get this Raptor. Like, I was really, really, really impressed with it. Just like the size of it. It's 6 scale, so it's about, it's pretty close to a foot tall. And then, it's, I don't know, maybe it was like 18 inches long or something. But just the presence that it had, it's at this size, I just thought it looked freaking awesome. So
wow,
there was that.
The paint scheme on that.
Did you get a chance?
The paint scheme on that is, I was just ranting and raving about the Mattel 6-inch Amber Collection Raptor, but this Chronicle Collectibles, higher end collectible, albeit it's higher end, it puts that to shame. The paint coloring on that thing is amazing. Granted, disclaimer, it's hand painted. It's something for the show. It's not like a mass produced thing quite yet, but what they did do with it looks great, and Alan Grant looks great next to it with the real fabric clothing and all that. But the Raptor really totally stole the show for me from Chronicle Collectibles. It's just the most perfect incarnation of a Jurassic Park Velociraptor that we've probably ever seen outside the movie. Because if you look up photos of the actual Stan Winston maquette, they literally copied the coloration perfectly on this collectible. It's amazing looking and probably insanely expensive. I don't know. What do you think ballpark figure that figure is going to cost?
Yeah, it didn't have a price. I think they said Dr. Grant in 2017 at least was going to be something like $200 or $220, somewhere in there, which is about a Hot Toys. It's not terrible. I don't think it's quite to Hot Toys level, so that's just kind of my feelings on it. But the Raptor definitely looked amazing. And I mean, let's take Mattel as an example with Amber Collection. So a figure's $25, right? And then the Dinosaur's $30. So let's say maybe the Raptor's going to be like $250, just a guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say $400, but I would love $250. If it's under $500, it's going to be incredibly tempting for me to buy that. I'm not a high-end collectible person. I have one statue from Sideshow Collectibles, but other than that, I don't do it. But that Velociraptor is a showstopper, and I would gladly buy that and put that on my shelf and never play with it. It even has a little bit of articulation, which I think you mentioned, so that's kind of an extra selling point for me. So if it's anywhere south of $500, not that it's responsible at all for me to spend that on one thing, I'm going to do it because it's amazing, and I would love to see someone top that accurate a depiction of a Jurassic Park raptor. It's just
totally. I'm guessing it's going to be $250 to $300. I'm going to call it now.
Let's do it.
$250 to $300. But yeah, I don't know if the jaw was articulated. It wasn't posed with the mouth open, so I'm really not sure.
The arms and legs, though, right? I mean, they look like they were rotated, and I thought I read somewhere that that part of it was at least articulated.
Yeah, that I don't know, but it does look like there's seams at the elbow area and the shoulders and the hips. So, yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
I think it'd be the most awesome though with that jaw open. I just can't really tell from the photos, and the people that were at the booth from Chronicle were kind of busy, so I didn't really get a chance to talk to them. So
yeah, well, it looks cool.
But yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with this. They also had their new Dilophosaurus statue on display, and that comes with a miniaturized Barbasol can.
Yeah. Which we talked about that
neat.
I think a couple shows ago when they announced it on the I think they had like press images on the internet, but seeing it in the flesh, what'd you think?
It's cool. I think I like the Raptor better, but it is neat to see, what it looks like, in person. Obviously, it's you see all the detail up close, and sometimes things on the internet also look less detailed than they do in person, or they look more detailed than they do in person. So I always like actually seeing things. And I think this is one of their better pieces. It definitely has a really nice sculpt. There's lots of texturing going on with it. It's painted really nicely too. I don't think it's very film accurate in terms of the color scheme that they went with, but it's definitely, an attention grabber, and it looks pretty animated the way that they sculpted, like it's kind of in the midst of, like jumping or something.
It's funny that you mentioned the color didn't feel movie accurate, because when you said it didn't really feel movie accurate, I was kind of thinking its style didn't really feel like the Stan Winston maquette. It's just very like lean. It's very, very cool looking. I'm not saying it's like ugly by any means. It's a very, very cool Jurassic Park-esque Dilophosaurus. It just, something about it feels a little like horror movie, toned up a little bit. It just doesn't have the same kind of girth, I guess, as the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus. He's very skinny. It's very like emaciated looking, but still really cool. It just it doesn't look picture perfect for me.
Yeah, well, we never saw them in this kind of a pose in the movie. It was obviously an animatronic, so it was a lot more static. This one definitely looks a little more dynamic. It's like kind of got its tail up, and it looks like it's like running, and the frills like in this weird like contorted shape. So it definitely looks like they obviously exaggerated what we see in the film. But it looked cool. And then they also had the Mosasaurus, which is a different statue that was on display, and it's kind of posed like it's about to eat a great white shark. And that
was just announced, I think, like at the con. So that was an all new look at that one too. And I think we know that it comes with the great white, but I think if you order directly through Chronicle Collectibles, you also get the mini sub from Fallen Kingdom to swap in for the great white. But they're both incredible statues. I think I like the Mosasaur better. I like the swimming downward motion, and the scale next to the shark or the sub, it just feels immense, which I think is just kind of a cool thing. I would love to get that. Like if I had, first off, both of these statues we're talking about are $900, so they're pretty pricey. So if I had an extra $900 and I could get that Mosasaur statue, I can see like putting it on the shelf with some like water reflection light effect. That would be so cool. But I don't have an extra $900, so it's probably not going to happen. But it's still very, very cool collectible. Chronicle Collectibles has done like more Jurassic Park stuff than I can count since they got the license. So it's cool that they're going strong with it. I love that they keep coming out with cool stuff, and it keeps being like kind of fresh takes on things, and it's not just like another T-Rex breaking out of a fence. Like it's very they're always doing something new.
They also had the Barbasol can on display. So this is probably their least expensive item. It's $200. But it's really cool because it's like a prop replica. And I think, if maybe statues aren't your thing and you want something that's more based, like, an actual thing from the films, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
Barbasol cans are a really cool prop to have. And of course, it has all the embryos and it looks really cool. That's one that I'm actually seriously considering maybe getting.
It is really cool. And, one thing I saw when they announced it, I can't remember who was doing a comparison, but previous prop replica cans have never been this close compared to what Chronicle did. There's these little tiny, totally nerding out here, but these little tiny things, like the way the metal kind of contours to the little embryos. Previously it's been flat, and now this new version is rounded like the movie version. And then the way the top of the can fits on, current shaving cream bottles don't have a lip, but back in the 90s they had a lip, and a lot of the new replicas you see don't have the lip, but this one has the lip. All these really tiny little intricacies that Chronicle Collectibles nailed, making this the first very, very accurate replica. So not only is it affordable and mass produced, it's probably one of the most accurate replicas made now. So that kind of those little details really get me excited too. I have the cheap version of the crowd can, meaning I have I think my wife used to work at the Container Store, and they have those hideaway safes there. So it was they sell the Coke can, and they sold the shaving cream can. And I can unscrew the bottom of it and hide something inside. It's good enough for me. That's what's on my collectible shelf right now. But if you open it up, there are no embryos, but it also cost me considerably less than one of these replicas. But I'm with you. I'm seriously considering that for $200. Getting to open it up and look at all those little embryos in there. I mean, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. It is. And, the good thing about Chronicle is if you order through them, they have payment plans. So, you could potentially get it for $20 a month, which really isn't that bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. This and the night vision goggles are definitely prop replicas that I would consider owning.
Yeah, they didn't have at least I don't remember seeing the goggles this time around. I have seen them in the past, but.
And those are Chronicle that are, I know someone's making them.
Yeah, they did. I think they're also, it's supposed to be the most accurate goggles anyone's ever done, but. It might have been a thing that they already did and they sold out of it. I don't know. I kind of lost track of that, but they did have them a couple years ago, and they were really cool to see.
Yeah, no. Well, this crowd can definitely looks cool, and I mean, I assume they're just going to keep making these awesome Jurassic statues for at least up into the third movie, and they're obviously doing Jurassic Park stuff too. So lots and lots of stuff they could still do.
Yeah, and they did tell me back in 2017, it wasn't on display, but they said, after Dr. Grant and the Owen 12-inch figures, that the next one was going to be Dr. Malcolm. I never heard anything about it ever since. They never announced anything else. Like I said, these 12-inch figures kind of disappeared after that show. But, if they're still sticking to that plan, then, potentially we could still see a 12-inch Malcolm eventually.
Yeah, the production timeline on these things is crazy. Though they announce it and then comes out 4 years later. That's pretty. A lot of craftsmanship must go into these to get them mass produced. So, was there a sick Triceratops statue in their booth too?
I've seen that. I saw that a couple years ago. I didn't see it this time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one looks cool, but maybe it wasn't at the show. I guess I'm mistaken. I thought it might have been at the show.
I think last time I was there, they had that. They had the compy, which was a 1-to-1 scale compy, full size. Mm-hmm. They also had the breakout T-Rex, obviously. That's come and gone. They had the Stegosaurus. That wasn't there this time around. Some of those items they're actually running deals on right now through their website, where you can take 20% off, the Stegosaurus and some of the older Jurassic items. Cool. So if anybody wants to maybe check those out, it might be worth looking at just in case. This is pretty much the extent of it. There wasn't a ton of stuff, but they did have some pretty impressive stuff from what was from Jurassic that they did decide to bring to the show.
Awesome. Yeah, and they're just big statues too. I think that's the other thing that you have to remember with the price of them is they're huge. I mean, the Raptor and Alan Grant are obviously on the smaller side, but the Dilophosaur and Mosasaur statue, they're pretty giant statues. So in a way, you are getting what you're paying for when it's that expensive. You're not getting something that's the size of it's bigger than the lamp, so it's huge.
Yeah, and again, these aren't items for people that are, hunting down dual attack Triceratops at the store.
No.
They definitely cater to a different market, to the super rich, if you want to say that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think truly, like, if you collect Jurassic, and no pun intended there, and you really want to own like a high-end piece, it's possible to do it. They do have payment plans, but I truly think if you really want, like one like awesome piece, I think it's doable.
Yeah, for sure. And there's definitely a market of people that love collecting all of these things and have these awesome glass case display rooms, and I think that's awesome too. Like, that's such a cool collection. My collection is a little bit more juvenile in a way that it's all tiny little toys, but there's something really cool about a room filled with these high-end statues too. So to each their own.
Honestly, I think my husband would prefer if I focused on these sorts of things rather than like Mattel, because I mean, he's pretty impressed with like things I have, like the Rebor and the Papodinos. He's like, well, why do you want those look like plastic. And it's like,
it's my childhood.
Do, but yeah, exactly. I mean, those other brands aren't constantly putting out all this product to buy. So
well, I told my wife that the minute I start using glass cases, that she needs to tell me I have a problem, because part of the reason I like collecting toys is, you can move them around and reshuffle them and handle them, and kids can play with them. So for me, it's like, once I start putting them behind glass, I've gone too far.
Well, by that definition, then I've already gone too far.
Yeah. Well, you probably have some pretty rare stuff, but my stuff is all pretty much mass produced. So I would love to put a lot of it behind the glass case, but too far.
All right. So also David Silva, who is the owner of Creative Beast Studio, a few years ago, he ran a campaign for his Beasts of the Mesozoic, which was the Raptor series. And I was one of the first 100 people to support that. And you mentioned that you had some of the Raptors as well. So, those turned out absolutely awesome.
Oh, yes.
They're 12 scale, so they fit in with 6-inch scale action figures. And so he's now doing the Ceratopsians. That campaign begins on Kickstarter on September 10th.
Yep.
And so he brought a bunch of his Ceratopsians to the show, and most of them were painted. Some of them were still not painted. But if you like the Raptors, I think you're absolutely going to love what he's doing with the Ceratopsians. I had a fun chat with him, just kind of getting an idea of what he's trying to accomplish with these Ceratopsians, how the campaign's going to work. So there's a video of that as well on YouTube. And yeah, these look incredible. These are actually 1/18 scale. So they're going to fit in with your 3 3/4 inch figures. They're going to scale with Mattel stuff. And 2 of them are going to scale with be the 6-inch scale. So they'll scale with the Raptor series.
Yeah. I remember him doing a post about how he was kind of branching off with the scale, just because it was like not practical at all to scale them to the Raptors. But it's cool that the new scale is going to fit with Mattel. I mean, come on, we can all get excited about that here, getting some
absolutely.
of these hyper realistic.
And obviously, what he's doing, it's in a whole other league outside of mass produced toys, but. It's still dinosaurs, and that's what we're all ultimately excited about.
Yeah.
And I was really thoroughly impressed with everything that I saw there, and I can't wait for this campaign to start. I'm going to definitely get in on that, and if it's successful, the third campaign is going to be the Tyrannosaurids. So
yeah, that's going to be
really
crazy.
Exciting.
It'll be successful, no doubt in my mind. True story, first Kickstarter I ever supported was the Beast of the Mesozoic. So
me too.
Yeah, that's the first one I ever did, and I ordered 3 Raptors. I bought in like at first just for like the base Raptor, and then like how Kickstarter goes, they start adding stretch goals and new designs, and I'm like, oh god. And then whatever they have at the end, the backer kit where you can place your order for more stuff, then I was like, I gotta get this and I gotta get this, and I kept it conservative. I didn't get the hatchlings, so they did hatchlings and everything. So that's for the Raptors. So I can't wait to see what they do with the Triceratops. Or Ceratopsian, sorry. But I think right now I'm definitely locked in for the Styracosaurus. What's really cool about these toys is that he partners with a paleo artist. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but they're all
several of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but all of these designs for the figures he does are rendered for the packaging in like a beautiful digital painting. And some of the digital paintings sold me on the figures. I was like, the figure looks cool, but I can really get into the figure now that I can see this sort of artistic portrayal of it. I wish I could remember the one I have, like what his what its kind of subspecies is. It looks like a hawk. It's in the snow in the picture. It looks so cool. But anyway,
the Dromaeosaurus.
Yeah, but it had another name. I thought, I don't know. It looks just like a giant like hawk, but a raptor. It's the coloration on them is so cool. He worked with these artists to kind of create these very realistic, like, what was it called, plumage, I guess, like feathering on the raptors. So with the ceratopsians, it's the same deal. Like, they all look super realistic and are kind of rooted in actual wildlife patterns we see today. So when I saw the Styracosaurus painting, because I think that was one of the ones that's unpainted right now, I was like, I have to get that figure. So I'm at least getting that, if not more, when the campaign goes live.
Absolutely. And, there's always a 9 degrees of Jurassic Park. So Dave actually did sculpt the Pachyrhinosaurus for Hasbro back in 2013. When they were doing the Dino Showdown sets. Right. And, the artist, one of the artists that he brought in for the packaging was Sarah Richard, and she did the Stegosaurus and Carnotaurus that were unreleased from that same time frame by Hasbro.
Oh, that's really cool. I know he did a Styracosaur that wasn't released too, which I think I have pictures of on Collect Jurassic, but obviously he's got some experience with the Jurassic line.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see those connections, and he's worked for NECA and Hasbro, and it's really great to see him doing so well for himself now. So, of course, we wish him the best of luck with the Ceratopsians campaign, and we hope it works out. Yeah,
and I would encourage people, if you haven't heard of Beasts of the Mesozoic, look at it right now. If you're listening to our show and you like dinosaur toys, like, these are on another level. I mean, the detail and the articulation is just. It's on another level, and it's affordable. What were the Raptor figures? They were
like $20. 30 to 40.
Yeah. Oh yeah, $30. Like, and what you get like a base that's all detailed, with like rocks and grass. It's just it's like NECA basically, but dinosaurs. Maybe even better than that.
Yeah.
As far as like build quality goes, I haven't had any issues with mine. Ceratopsians are going to be great, and I have no doubt in my mind that campaign is going to do great. So when it does go live, definitely be sure to back it early on so you can get whatever early perks there are, being as that's how Kickstarter works. So
it'll do well. And Dave is very insistent that despite how amazing these look and how well articulated they are still toys. So I think that's a really awesome aspect of them as well.
Yeah, that is really cool. That's great to hear. So that's awesome. You got to kind of chat with him. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, and he was on a Cantina Chatter podcast back when he started the Raptor series. So also a good listen if you want to get a little bit of insight into his work background and his whole goal with doing these dinosaurs. So I'll throw a link to that in the show notes just in case anyone wants to check that out.
Awesome. So while you were at Comic-Con, did you happen to swing over to the Mondo booth?
I did not.
Okay.
One of the things about going to Comic-Con is that, especially when you're trying to do coverage and you have interviews lined up and you're meeting up with people, it's almost impossible to get to everything you want to see. I missed out on a few booths I wanted to check out, not just Mondo, but also Factory Entertainment. I missed out on Diamond Select, and I never made it over to Lego. It just it gets so busy and it's hard to get from point A to point B. And but it sounds like they had some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, right. So Mondo, they've done a lot of posters for Jurassic. They've done some enamel pins, which were excellent. They definitely have some real love for the Jurassic franchise, in particular Jurassic Park over there. And they've been working on a game in the past that they've announced that was called Chaos Gene, I think. And we kind of heard about it a couple years and never heard anything about it again. Looked very cool, but it looks like that game has sort of not been canceled, just sort of evolved into something else. It says Mondo Games and Restoration Games kind of teamed together to create this new Jurassic Park sub-game of Unmatched. So the game series is called Unmatched. I've never played it, but they've done it with other properties, but now they're doing Jurassic Park versions. So at the show, they had Engine versus Raptors on display, some pictures of the game board and some cards and the box art itself, which definitely check it out. It's Muldoon facing down 3 Velociraptors, all illustrated in like this very cool sort of vectory style, but they're all very accurate looking. Like, it's not stylized. They're Jurassic Park raptors. So more Jurassic Park love here. And I do think that they're doing a couple more. They're doing I'm just trying to read through this press release. I think they said they were doing Sattler versus T-Rex and and Alan Grant's solo expansion in 2020. So they have a couple other ones planned, but the first one's going to be Engine versus Raptors. It's, like I said, it's a game called Unmatched. It's 2 players. I couldn't tell you any more about it because I've never played it, but I know it entails like little figurines again. So I'm guessing they're going to recycle the really detailed figurines we saw from their canceled Chaos Gene game and probably reuse them here. Which, they're unpainted, but they're highly detailed, probably created off of models from the actual movies. So really looking forward to that. Again, Jurassic Park love. They easily could have done a Jurassic World thing, so it's great to see them embracing the first movie. And if I can judge a book by its cover, this looks like it's going to be a great book.
Yeah, haven't had a chance to really look at it yet, but it sounds very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll go on a little rant here. I know I talked about this with our other collector friends, but I'm just seeing a lot more of an embracing of Jurassic Park itself and all this merchandise and, toys, collectibles, posters, all that stuff. It just seems like we're kind of reaching fever pitch here with the kind of Jurassic Park nostalgia. Whereas with, Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, they dipped their toes into Jurassic Park with certain aspects like, oh, we're going to put the Jeep in the movie and we're going to do this and that. But I really think from the merchandising standpoint, we're seeing a lot more companies sort of play around in the Jurassic Park space and not feel like they need to be deeply tied to Jurassic World with a little bit of Jurassic Park thrown in there. Like they're going full Jurassic Park. Like this board game is a great example of it. Amber Collection's first 2 figures from Mattel is a great example of it. Like they're not worried that they need to be tied to this recently released movie. They're going all in with Jurassic Park, which is totally awesome. And I'm totally on board for it, as I'm sure most of you out there are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point because we are seeing like a lot of excitement for the original film and merchandise, and I love seeing that. I'm sure you do too. As people that were kids when the original film came out, and we're waking up on Christmas morning to toys like the Red Rex. My heart's always with that original film. I love the Jurassic World series as well, if you want to call it a separate series.
Yeah.
But I'm totally all about that first film, and seeing all this new merchandise that is based around it really, really has me excited.
I know. It has me excited and a little worried because I don't know how I'm going to buy it all and, again, like put it somewhere. But if you're going to slap a Jurassic Park logo on it and put some time into it, I'm definitely buying it. It's like... it's just crazy how we went from not really having any kind of merchandise to look forward to a couple years ago to being just inundated with stuff. But it's a great problem to have. Definitely not complaining, and excited to see what else comes, especially as we approach Jurassic World 3. I think we're just going to keep seeing more and more of this stuff announced. But it's just incredible. San Diego Comic-Con 2019, that's 2 years away from the next movie, and we're seeing this much Jurassic newness. And it's cool. And the show was huge. I mean, you mentioned there's a lot to do, very crowded, very many booths. There's no way you could see everything. I'm sure there's probably some Jurassic stuff that fell through the cracks here and there that we didn't quite cover. But I mean, these were like the main things that I think you'll hear about, and obviously you got to see in person, which is really cool. But one huge thing I think we should talk about coming out of San Diego Comic-Con is the Mattel panel itself, which happened on Friday. It was a panel with designers of the Jurassic World toy line and some other people involved in the team. And we got a little bit more information out of that too. That was pretty exciting. They let people attend. I know a couple followers of Collect Jurassic were able to attend. Yeah, tons of new stuff. I know the actual panel itself kind of started out as a behind the scenes of the Destroy and Devour Indominus Rex, and they kind of talked the audience through, what went into developing the figure, which I thought was really interesting. I mean, I totally have an appreciation for the design of these toys already, but kind of seeing how they went about, coming up with the Indominus's action of chomping down and the lights in its neck. I mean, it's just cool how much thought they put into it, making sure that it looks right and that it's fun to play with. And that was really interesting. But obviously what we were all there for was some newness. What could we expect from Mattel Jurassic in the coming year? Obviously, we have a lot more to come out this year, but 2020 obviously is going to have some Jurassic World toys as well.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, they had a lot of how many species was it? It was like 15 or 14.
17 species.
17 new species. And I think last year they announced 16 new species, correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, I can't remember what they did last year, but you could be right. But 17 is still an extremely large number. Again, we're like 2 years out from a movie, and they're pumping out this many new figures, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And I did notice that during that panel, they confirmed that they would be making some of these figures for Camp Cretaceous, which is the upcoming Netflix Jurassic World show. First Jurassic World series outside the movies ever, and it's going to be on Netflix. We talked about it in a previous show, but it's like a camp, like a summer camp, and kids are there. The park, the events of Jurassic World happen, and they got to survive, I guess. I don't really know much more about it. I don't think anybody does, but we know there's going to be dinosaurs, and it sounds like Mattel is going to be making some figures based on some of the dinosaurs in the show. So that was really cool to hear. But yeah, these 17 new species will be part of 2020's toy line. So if you think about it, in 2018, we had Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which was kind of just introducing us to these figures. Some of the figures had biting action. Some of them had, headbutting. And then in 2019, we saw Dino Rivals, which had dual attack, which meant, a lot of figures could do 2 different attacks at once, and it was all about pitting against dinosaur to dinosaur. That was the whole idea of Dino Rivals. But for 2020, we have Primal Attack, which is all around focused around these new kind of action attack, dynamic play features. They did a little demo on the screen of this Carnotaurus, kind of being controlled almost like the Indominus with the tail, but really having even more motion with how it moved its torso side to side. So they're really leaning into that sort of animated play action versus just like a chomping mouth or a slashing claw. Like, it's kind of using the whole body. It's very cool.
Yeah, that does look really neat. I am glad that they are changing up the types of action features they're integrating into the figures. And we've had a dual attack for the past years, kind of been the past 6 months anyway, has been a big one. Before that, it was action attack and roarvors and Savage Strike is also kind of one they've been focusing on this year. But this looks really cool. This is kind of more like the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. It's kind of more of like a maquette sort of feeling action feature where you manipulate the tail and the front of the body moves. I think that's super cool, and I can't wait to see how this actually plays out once these figures start coming out with these features. And we see them outside of the Carnotaurus. I mean, what's a T-Rex with this sort of feature going to be like? I'm really excited about the prospect.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we should touch on is, like, they did mention 17 new species for sure, but they also showed a bunch of silhouettes of all these other figures that, I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. They're going to be repaints. I know some people get annoyed by that. But really, the fact that we're getting 17 new figures and what's helping support them is all of these other sort of revisits of current molds. And even the Carnotaur, for example, it's not going to be a repaint. It's a wholly new retooled figure with this new action and an electronic roar even. So, I mean, these aren't just going to be repaints. They're going to be kind of reimaginings of figures we already have. So it was this image of all these different silhouettes. There's more than I can count here, but some of the ones I recognize are Carnotaurus, T-Rex, Stegosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Minmi. I think I see a Proceratosaurus in there, Dimorphodon, Tapejara, or how do I pronounce that? Is it
Tapejara.
Got it. Perfect. And then I see a few raptors in there. I think I see a Protoceratops. So there's tons of figures that they're going to be revisiting for 2020 with, Primal Attack in mind and with Camp Cretaceous in mind, and obviously just straight up repaints as well. So very cool. But obviously people are really excited about these 17 new species as well. And I think they announced 3 species already. I think it's Cryolophosaurus, which is an Arctic carnivore with a little crest on its head.
Good job on the pronunciation.
Yeah, that's one I know. I think because I saw a museum exhibit about it in the past year, I know how to say it. But I've always liked that dinosaur. it's the fact that it's from the Arctic doesn't mean it lived in the snow, but it's just kind of a cool defining feature that they found it.
Sure. Well, I think the Arctic back then was like not very high north, right?
Yeah, but it's just always been kind of a cool thing that's stuck in my head about it. And obviously has that head crest too. So they showed kind of a mock-up of the paint coloration of what that figure might look like. Again, it's a drawing, so who knows what it could look like in final figure form, but kind of cool to get a view of that. And then Edmontosaurus, which looks like it really is using the colorations that we kind of saw on the Jurassic World website, which is really cool. Cool to get another herbivore. I mean, any dinosaur toy line, you're struggling to get herbivore, so very nice to get that, to kind of play with our Parasaurolophuses, have a similar sized Hadrosaur. Very exciting. And then I'm probably not going to pronounce this right, so sorry to everybody, but a Alioramus?
I think so, Alioramus, yeah.
Which looks like another kind of like a sauropod or a carnivore to me. Nothing too defining about it necessarily, but another figure they revealed. They didn't just show the silhouette; they actually showed the paint coloration. So that's really cool that we're getting all those. And then I think a couple other figures that we can spot in those silhouettes. And this is all speculation. We have no idea what these figures could be, but it looks to be like a giant alligator or a crocodile, which I've heard a few people guess what that is, and some other carnivores that are clearly carnivores, but again, only speculation as to what they could be. Could be Acrocanthosaur, could be Gigantosaur or something else. And I think that looks like sort of an Oranosaurus maybe there. Some sort of another Hadrosaur maybe, or it could be something else. There's just you could guess what any of these are. It's hard to tell.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know if that alligator looking one's maybe like a Caprosuchus or a Dinosuchus or... I know we talked in the last episode about things we wanted to see, and one of them was Corythosaurus because it is in in Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't look like that's made the cut that we're aware of yet.
No, and that's interesting because I feel like Mattel's really gone out of their way to fill out all of the extra canon figures, even releasing Herosaurus, which is like from the game or the novel. Just all these random, kind of deep canon species that they've realized, but they haven't hit some of the main screen dinosaurs like Corythosaur, and obviously some huge herbivores they haven't hit. But that's interesting. It almost makes me wonder if they're saving it for something else. But yeah, we get the Edmontosaurus instead, but still really cool to get more herbivores, like you said.
Yeah, I like Edmontosaurus. I always thought that was one of the cooler hadrosaurs. So.
Yeah, for sure. And the paint coloring, at least in this kind of early mock-up, does look very cool. But yeah, I mean,
does it look like the art from Jurassic World?
I think it kind of does, but I guess I should do a side by side before I say with authority that it's this based on it. But it looks cool in any case. Very vibrant and not just one color with stripes on the back. Like Mattel always does a good job of mixing things up. So very cool. And we don't know of all these figures. Not just the 17 new species, but all of the new figures they teased in the silhouette. Like some could be some could be battle damage, we don't know that. Some could have electronics that didn't before, and vice versa. So a lot of new stuff could be happening here. And I gotta say, even though it's a given that there's another T-Rex coming out, I am curious as to what that T-Rex could be. Is it just like a retooled T-Rex to fit with the primal attack action, or are we going to get a new paint scheme? I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that kind of looks to me like it might just be the extreme chomping T-Rex, possibly, like just the positioning of the legs. And
yeah,
I know a while back there was a photo that was making the rounds where they showed like the extreme chomping T-Rex in the bite and fight colors.
Yeah.
So I suspect that maybe is what this is.
I'd be okay with that.
I would too.
Yeah.
I love that T-Rex. I've bought it. I can't even tell you how many times, probably like 10 times over, in different, colorations and variants and stuff. But, if they wanted to do that, I think it would probably become like my go-to, like for photos and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That would be I think we talked about it many moons ago on our T-Rex episode of your show, Cantina Chatter, how amazing a extreme chomping Rex with a bite and fight coloration would be. So maybe that's what this is. Or maybe it'll have a couple extra bells and whistles too.
Yeah, totally.
Another new species I want to call out in the silhouette, new technically, but you can easily see on the right there is a Sinoceratops, but an actual Sinoceratops, not a repurposed Pachyrhinosaurus figure that they repainted to look like the movie Sinoceratops. It's kind of a long story, but basically Mattel had to pivot their figure design from a Pachyrhinosaurus to a Sinoceratops, but the kind of the final product looked nothing like the dinosaur in the movie outside of the same paint coloring. So it looks like they're righting that wrong in 2020 and releasing a proper Sinoceratops figure, which is cool, but I'd really like to see the Pachyrhinosaurus figure revisited with a kind of a new paint scheme that wasn't making it look like it was a fake Sinoceratops. So I hope they revisit that mold at some point.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, that is one that they've only released once so far, so I totally wouldn't mind if they wanted to repaint that one and bring it back again.
Yeah, no, that would be, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. So let's hope. Again, I love getting herbivores in here. We have plenty of carnivores, plenty of raptors and T-Rexes. So anything we can get in the herbivore, even if it's a repaint, I'm happy to buy that.
Yeah, me too. Very excited for, any of this stuff. One thing I do want to touch on is something that was not on display and was not in the presentation. And, obviously that's the lack of human characters and the lack of vehicles. And I don't know that any of us honestly expected we were going to see things like that. But, in my conversations, there at the booth with, some of the Mattel employees that, they've emphasized that it's still tricky to balance out, the wants that collectors have with the needs that kids have. They made it pretty clear that, kids are practically almost exclusively all about the dinosaurs, whereas collectors obviously, want the humans. They want more of the vehicles, more of the classic stuff. So I guess it's a tricky thing to balance when they're trying to, pitch things to their retail partners, like, your Walmart, your Target. And at the end of the day, they go by sales data, and if it's the dinosaurs that are bringing in the most revenue, then the people at the top of the chain are going to put emphasis on developing more dinosaurs, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing. It is a little bit disappointing though that we're not going to get any more humans at this point in time.
Well, this next year, I think we should really focus on too. Yeah, and I think it is disappointing to hear that. And I do think a lot of it too, at least the way I read it, is it's kind of, risk taking versus, playing it safe, and coming out with a bunch of new dinosaur figures is sort of like a no brainer. If we're trying to get the Mattel Jurassic line to sort of be here throughout the movies coming out and, kind of be this evergreen line like they want it to be, the safe way to do that is to not let a bunch of human figures rot on the shelf, but, make these dinosaur figures that they know will sell, which makes sense. But I think it's kind of a bummer to hear, according to them, and I'm sure they have, data to back it up, that like kids really are focused on dinosaurs. Because to me, and I'm sure to a lot of, fans listening who are old school collectors, it's like part of the whole allure of Jurassic Park toys was getting to like do these scenes with the cars and the nets and the capture weapons and the humans and the different characters, and that was a huge part of it for me as a kid. And you can't do that with a bunch of dinosaurs. I mean, you just can't. I guess you can grab your Spider-Man figure and make something up, but like they really need, to me, that context to really capture the essence of the original. And that's not just me being nostalgic or me being unrealistic about what retailers will buy. I'm definitely cognizant of all those things, but to me, the core Jurassic toy experience, humans are a part of that. So I hope that even though they're playing it safe, there's some plans to kind of figure out a smart way where everyone wins and we can get human figures, back in releases.
Yeah. And it sounds like that's probably going to happen eventually. I mean, Jurassic World 3 is still on the horizon, and I would be shocked if we didn't see more human figures then, but I do think at the same time that, Mattel does have some culpability in the fact that there are, the humans maybe didn't do so well, because if you think back to those case ratios, how many times did we see Owen?
Yeah, right.
He was always like, and not just one Owen, like various versions of Owen that were like like far outweighing the number of other characters that were in those case packs. So,
and I've heard explanations as to why like that has to be that way, but I still think there was a need to tweak it a little bit. I get it. You have to have a lot of Owens on the shelf because that's what kids want to buy, but that doesn't mean we have to make Claire impossible to find. Like, obviously, Claire was a hot figure if you couldn't find it, so they definitely could tweak the ratios a little bit and give us way less Owen.
Yeah, and you have to think about, too, with kids, if they already have one Owen, they're not necessarily going to need to buy a different Owen. You know, I mean, like from a parent standpoint,
you
already have Owen.
Right.
Yeah, you have that. There's, we're not going to buy you another one just because it has like battle damage on it or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not really a shock to me that the figures didn't do better than they did.
Yeah.
I think that, from adult collector standpoints, they probably, bought all those variants multiple times over. I know I did.
Yeah.
But, if you're a kid, you're just not going to need more than one Owen, just like you're probably not going to need more than one, of any character, really. So,
I think you made a really good point, too. Like, a really good point about, the mom who says, you already have that. But, like, the great thing about the dinosaurs they're releasing is that they can slap a new coat of paint on it, and the little kid can pick it up in the store and say, I want this one, Mommy. And she can't say, you already have a Protoceratops, but she doesn't know. It's a blue Protoceratops now. It's like, it makes sense from that point that, the dinosaurs, they get so much more versatility out of those molds because they can, release them a few different ways and they're still going to be picked up and bought. Whereas, a human figure is kind of, it is what it is. You're not going to give them a red shirt or a yellow shirt. You're going to kind of, it is what it is. So I can see why they get more bang for their buck out of the dinosaur figures. But obviously, we're still all hoping for more human figures. Last time I checked, Franklin was still on the way. I don't know how widespread that wave will be available, but
I'm a little worried about that. Last I heard, though, he was slated for fall.
Yeah.
Alongside other figures that we haven't seen in a while, like Maisie and Wheatley. So, it sounds like it's going to happen. It's just like, where are you going to be able to get it? Because Target hasn't even carried the Dino Rivals packaging on the older figures. So, Walmart did, and then they started clearancing them out, and you can't even buy humans there anymore. So it's like, I don't know, hopefully like Walmart.com or Amazon, might carry them, but I mean, it's going to kind of hurt a little bit if we can't find them at retail.
It is, and if it's going to be something that we're going to have to like scramble to buy online, that'll be annoying as well. So hopefully, maybe I'm putting a lot of faith in the holiday shopping and kind of how stores stock toys a little differently around then, and maybe we'll see Target and Walmart carry a big amount of human figures in Dino Rivals packaging. You just don't know, but I think this year Franklin is all we can hope for. I guess what we should mention too is, and earlier we had talked about the Baryonyx, the red Baryonyx, and the Mattel case, but we know now that is part of the, let me see if I got this right, Ultimate Baryonyx Breakout set, battle damage set, exclusive to Walmart. We'll talk about how you can buy it here in a little bit, but it's a set with a human. But can you guess what the human is?
Owen.
It's Owen. That's right. Owen comes with Baryonyx, but he does come with a motorcycle and a bunch of other cool accessories that are repurposed from other figures. You have the flare from Ian Malcolm. You have a little data pad from Claire and a couple other little accessories here and there that were repurposed from other figures. So it's very much like a wholly repack of a playset, but it's still important to note that they're trying to get a human figure out there with dinosaurs, and I support whatever kind of experimentation they have to do that. Just really wish it wasn't Owen. I mean, I would have taken anything but another Owen. Sorry, Owen. It's too much. This would be my fourth blue shirt Owen once I get this set for various reasons. That's how many Owens I have in the regular blue shirt.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, like, we got that set with the ATV earlier this year. It's like,
so you have the base figure that you could buy on the single card that had the blue shirt, and then you have the ATV set with the blue shirt. If you bought the Coles exclusive set with the Raptor, the Gallimimus, Owen, and some compies, you got another blue shirt, and I believe the motorcycle will be the fourth blue shirt. I don't think I'm missing one. They've made us buy that particular version of Owen quite a few times. So it's getting a little old.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you think about all the other figures they've produced, I mean, they could have packed in any figure in there, and it would have been better, honestly.
Yeah. I forgot one. There was a blue shirted Owen that came with a version of Blue in a 2-pack. When so it'll be my 5th Owen, everyone's 5th Owen. But you're right. Like, think about all the other figures. Like, we could have got a mercenary, or we could have got like Ken Wheatley. I would have taken a version of him again, I guess. Like, I would have taken anybody but Owen. So
yeah, and like I've said before, it's really easy for them to just retool these figures. Like, throw one of the mercenaries' head on Wheatley's body and then just paint it different.
Yeah, right. Right, or the mercenary shares the same body as the helicopter pilot. It's a really cool mold. I
mean, just simple things like that could really flesh out the line, that really aren't that expensive for them to do. So I kind of find it pretty disappointing that they won't even entertain or seemingly entertain those kinds of ideas.
Yeah, for sure. I think they need to experiment, and maybe if this is just the first step toward figuring out how they can get humans with dinosaurs in a more attractive kind of setup for people to buy. But they just did it with Owen, and I think they have some room to experiment using anybody else. So we'll see.
Oh yeah.
But definitely a bummer that I know people continually expect playset vehicle human announcements at any kind of sort of event like this where Mattel gets to talk about Jurassic. But I really think closer to the next movie we'll hopefully get more information about that. I don't think the human figure sales have been dismal. It's not like they're walking away from it completely. I definitely don't believe that. I just think that they don't do as well as the dinosaurs, and when you're a company like Target or Walmart or Amazon or whatever who buys these figures from Mattel, they'll just say, we don't really need the humans, so just give us the dinosaurs. And maybe that's just what they're doing right now.
Right. Well, even when you look online, like if you go onto Amazon or Walmart.com, anytime they get, which, they haven't had, Amazon hasn't had Claire in a while, but anytime these stores were stocking Claire or Zia or, who were the figures that were sticking around after that? It was always Owen.
Yeah.
Occasionally, one of the mercenaries might hang around for a bit, but it was generally the Owen figures that were going down to $3 on Amazon. I think that the potential is definitely there for them to do better. It just, I think, largely came down to, case packs and, figure selection, character selection. So, even with the vehicles, I know we talked about it before, but some of those vehicles didn't really get a huge, they didn't really give them much of a chance, at Target.
Yeah.
I don't even know that did Walmart carry any of the vehicles, in store last year?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. Did they carry the Gyrosphere Blast vehicle? I don't remember if they did.
No, I don't. Oh, you know what? They did. They carried that. They did have that at the very least. I did see that there.
Briefly, if they had it.
Yeah, I don't think they carried the others, and I know that by August, September, Target was already clearancing out the submarine and the Gyrosphere launching vehicle and the pickup truck.
The submarine and the it's called the rescue rig, those two vehicles, they did not stay on the shelf very long. Once they were sold out, they never came back. So I say they didn't give them a chance and that they didn't keep stocking them. So
it's one of those things just Target has a very short attention span when it comes to toys. They're constantly trying to move on to the next film, which, this day and age we have it's a constant drip of Marvel films. There's Star Wars, there's Ninja Turtles, there's all kinds of stuff. And I don't think that they really plan out having some of these lines, staying around for a long time. So, we're less likely to see, things like that hang on for a long time, which is really unfortunate because I think, we're not seeing the full potential with such a short attention span on some of these items.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the vehicles are definitely maybe taking the brunt of that as far as not being produced more. But I think one thing that's interesting too, because I just sort of always am looking at other accounts around the world, a lot of these vehicles are still readily available in other parts of the world. I've seen the sub and the rescue rig in particular be available in a few other places. So I think that even though they don't get a chance here in America, they really get more opportunity to sell in other countries. One thing I wanted to mention while we were still kind of recapping the Mattel panel was they did mention some Amber collection details in there. Of course, they went over the figures that were shown at the show, which was Hammond Malcolm and the Raptor, as well as Owen and Blue the Velociraptor. They covered those, but they also said that, when they were talking about Owen and Blue, what they're really trying to do with the future of Amber Collection is kind of do little waves like this that were built around movie scenes, which I thought was kind of a cool idea, and kind of like opened up figure and dinosaur pairings in a cool way. So then they were kind of joking around and saying they were going to, maybe tease us a little bit with what was to come. And they clicked to the next slide. And of course it was a little gif of Dennis Nedry saying, didn't say the magic word, which I thought was hilarious. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, they're not going to show us anything. But me personally, maybe reading too much into it, but me personally, I was like, oh, wow. So that's basically them saying, we can't tell you, but this is Nedry. So who do you think it is? And right off the bat, I'm like, oh, then it's going to be a Nedry and Dilophosaur, because what's the next best classic Jurassic dinosaur that you'd want besides Raptor in this scale? I mean, I know a T-Rex 6-inch scale would be amazing, but the next one naturally would be a Dilophosaur.
Yeah, it's perfect scale for what they're trying to do starting out. The Velociraptor at the $30 price point. Dilophosaurus is going to be roughly around the same size, I assume, and it'll probably be the same price. So, I mean, it makes complete sense. And then having another human figure to complement it, who better than Nedry? So that's a really exciting prospect.
Yeah, totally. And I hope that that's what it is. And I hope that they, have more plans beyond that. And not just with Jurassic Park and not just with Jurassic World. Like, I'd love to see like a Roland Tembo or something, but that could just be, really high hopes. But I hope to see what they do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. So, in summary, it was, a lot of fun, of course, attending Comic-Con and seeing everything that, was Jurassic related between Mattel and Chronicle and, the other dinosaur type things at the show. I missed a few things, but, for the most part, we got all the Jurassic stuff. So was thrilled with everything that was on display. I feel like it wasn't quite as exciting perhaps as last year, but we're getting 17 new species. Camp Cretaceous is coming, and we still have the Brachiosaurus to look forward to this fall, and Amber Collection. So I think we're going to stay busy as collectors.
For sure. They're definitely going to keep us busy. So yes, all good stuff. Well, those park announcements took quite a while today. Lots of things to announce over the park intercom, but we'll go ahead and head over to asset tracking now. We also have a lot to talk about here as well. The first big thing would be the San Diego Comic-Con John Hammond exclusive from Mattel. The figure we talked at length about on this show before. Where would it, if it would ever come out after the exclusive Comic-Con kind of in-person selling, in-person pre-order fulfillment. But now we know that Entertainment Earth has swooped in to save the day. As of recording this episode, you can actually go on Entertainment Earth right now and pre-order the figure for an August delivery. Anyone, doesn't matter. You don't need to have attended Comic-Con or anything like that. The figure is, I think, $25, which is $10 more than what it was at the show, but I attribute all that to heaven only knows, shifting this exclusivity, logistics of it, everything. Anyway, it's a small price to pay for a very limited figure. I don't expect it to stay in stock on Entertainment Earth either, but as of right now, it's something you can go buy. So it's definitely something we wanted to cover.
Yeah, I was really surprised that it only cost $15 at the show. I mean, to me, that was like a really good deal for something like that. 25 feels more appropriate, and I mean, I'm not surprised. Usually when Entertainment Earth takes exclusives or even general, just regular toys, they do mark them up sometimes. I mean, these online stores like Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store, Dorkside Toys, they're all small companies. They're, catering to a very specific collector market. So, I mean, they're not Walmart. They can't sell in bulk volume and, make meager profits off of, selling in bulk, because that's not what they're trying to do. So,
no,
I totally get it. And you know what? Honestly, trying to get Hammond at the show, and I was trying to get into the backup queue that was capped off, and as I was waiting for that, he sold out in the process. And, I think $10 is, if I had the option and, it was either, wait for a couple hours in line or just pay $10 more through Entertainment Earth, I would have done that to begin with.
Yeah,
but luckily,
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but luckily I had my pre-orders in from prior, and, all I had to do was check in with Mattel at their booth in order for them to, put those into process for August shipping. So, Hammond came back. Who would have thought?
Yeah, very exciting. You should definitely track that one down. And one other thing I wanted to say about the value of this figure, because again, they have added a little bit of markup, and I know that to some people that's a bridge too far, but really, this, you can't compare Hammond to like a $7.99 figure you'd find in the stores. I've heard a couple comments about like, well, that's a big markup for an $8 figure, but really Hammond and San Diego Comic-Con Hammond with this like special Jurassic Park packaging, which you get if you order from Entertainment Earth. That's all part of the collectability of the figure. So it's not just an $8 human figure. It's supposed to be this collector piece. So definitely something to keep in mind when you're like kind of, on the fence of like, why does it cost this much? It's worth that much, basically.
It is. And you can order it if you don't live in the U.S. They do ship internationally. It's a little expensive even if you are domestic, but this is still probably going to be your cheapest option of acquiring the figure without, going to eBay where it's going to be even more. So I would say definitely take advantage of that. And as we talked about it pretty in depth previously, Tim, a lot of people were really upset about, this being a Comic-Con exclusive. Well, now it's not just a Comic-Con exclusive. It's also Entertainment Earth. So hopefully a lot of those people that were super angry, we'll have a little bit more peace with Hammond and be able to add him to their collections at last.
Yeah, and I don't think it's probably the last we'll see of him either. So moving on, Super Colossal Blue, one of the figures that we saw at Toy Fair, in scale with Super Colossal T-Rex. Very impressive Velociraptor figure of blue, but it's huge just like the Rex, and it's super detailed just like the Rex, and it's just a very unique piece. And that now is available both on Entertainment Earth and Amazon. I think it's $49.99 on Amazon and I want to say $59.99 on Entertainment Earth. So again, that markup with Entertainment Earth, but you are probably getting it shipped a little bit with a little more care for Entertainment Earth, but you can order it from both those places right now. So that figure is finally seeing a online release in any case, maybe not in store yet, but online.
And that's really cool. I got my order in through Amazon the other day when I saw she was in stock. And I was almost kind of hesitant because you know how big this thing is. You've seen it in person. I don't know where I'm going to put her, but she's coming, so I'm going to have to make some room somewhere.
Yeah, right. I think we could just talk all day in this show about how we don't have room for the things that are coming out right now. 6 months ago, golden, but right now it's just all these giant pieces like the Brachiosaur,
man.
The plethora of figures in general, and then this giant raptor figure. Definitely way big.
So we also want to talk about the Ultimate Baryonyx breakout set, something we became aware of in recent weeks and then finally actually saw what it was going to look like around the time that Comic-Con was going on. We have some images that popped up online. Tim, did they show those at Comic-Con? Is that where we saw those first images of the playset?
Yeah, actually what happened is they did a giveaway at the panel, and Nostalgic Adam, who's on Instagram, toy photographer, he won one of the giveaway items, and it was the Ultimate Baryonyx breakout set. So that's how we kind of got our first eyes on it.
Nice. Yeah, and so they went up on Walmart.com a couple of days ago, and it was a pretty exciting thing because we just barely became aware of it and saw it, just the other day. And now we have them in our collections. Like literally, I received mine today. You got yours today.
Yep.
What do you think of it?
I think it's really cool. And, I think we probably both did reviews on it and both have opinions on it. My lasting opinion was, it's all kind of functional repacks with the exception of the motorcycle. To me, having an extra flare, having an extra data pad, having, an extra in-scale weapon. Those are all cool things to have, even if some of them are things I already had. I'd love another flare. And then other compies, you can't argue with more compies. And then getting a motorcycle and, a new Baryonyx colorway, very cool. It's just that blue shirt Owen, just too much of him.
Yeah. And, it seems like the consensus online has been that, this is, a pretty well-rounded set. It seems like most people are excited about it. There are a few that are saying, okay, well, this is too many repacks and, repaints and things we already have. But I mean, the way I'm looking at it is I think it's a pretty cool, especially if you wanted it as like a gift set, or like you said, if you just want some extra accessories. It's a terribly good value at only $20. I mean, a baryonyx, a motorcycle, an Owen, some filler like little dinosaurs and accessories. I mean, I really am surprised that it's only $20 and not like $30. And yeah, I ordered 2 of them. I just thought it was a great deal, and I'm glad I did because I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and I think I see that it's online right now only, but I really hope that it does hit stores, because this is the kind of set as a kid, I think picking this up would be like, oh, wow, this is like the gateway drug into Jurassic collecting, because you kind of get the dinosaur, the vehicle, the human, some other little dinosaurs, and there's just a lot of play value here. Speaking at it from like kind of an actual toy, there's just a lot you can do with what's in this set. So I think it's great. I think the inside the packaging, the presentation is just incredible.
It does look really cool, and I like the baryonyx. I think that it's just different enough. It's not like too like outlandish or anything. It kind of fits with the other ones, the first couple anyway. And then I think the motorcycle is probably the highlight of the set for me. I mean, it's not film accurate, but the execution I think was really nicely done, so I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, for sure. And I, just a little aside, if you don't want to use the blue shirt Owen, I just grabbed one of my extra mercenaries and threw the motorcycle helmet on him, and he works great. So I already feel like it's going to be great in my collection, the motorcycle, without having to display yet another Owen. So
very cool. So we also have the Amber collection. You can now pre-order it from GameStop.com. GameStop is exclusively carrying this line this fall. So if you want to get your Dr. Malcolm, your Velociraptor, those are available for pre-order. I assume that Owen and Velociraptor Blue will be available a little bit later through GameStop. But for now, Dr. Malcolm is $24.99 and the Velociraptor is $29.99.
Yep. Yeah, and I would think those would hit store too, but I would definitely wouldn't hurt to pre-order those. I think a lot of people have, so definitely doesn't hurt. And like as with all pre-orders, I think we should just get this out of the way, because people always ask. They don't charge you until they ship, so you really have nothing to lose. Kind of getting your name on these before they actually release.
Yeah, when in doubt, always pre-order, because you just never know if things are going to sell out or whether or not they will in fact be hitting stores. So yeah, definitely go ahead and get those pre-orders in. And if you need to cancel before they ship, well, we still got a few months to go, so there's plenty of time.
Yep. So next up, we'll hit up the Brachiosaurus. So we are really like tracking this Brachiosaurus, unlike we've tracked any other figure. Probably unlike we'll ever track any figure again, because it's so sought after. So can't expect these sorts of granular updates for every release. But for the Brachiosaur, we're really going out of our way to kind of cover where it's popping up around the world, since collectors everywhere want to get their hands on this. So it is out now in the UK via the Argos store. I think you have to order it online for store pickup. I don't think you can just walk into the store and get it, or get it shipped to your house. I believe that's how it works. You need to order it for store pickup, but tons of UK collectors have been posting their photos. So, no trouble getting it there. It is in the Legacy Collection box too. So just something to note. We still haven't seen a kind of generic wide release packaging, if it even exists. I think last time, and if I didn't mention it, I know that it was available briefly in Brazil. I don't know which store it was, or if it was just sort of a vendor and not necessarily a store, but was out in Brazil. And then we also have confirmation for Canada that it'll be coming to Toys R Us there, since those lucky Canadians still have a Toys R Us. And then recently we got confirmation, and when I say confirmation, I mean a customer service representative from the company said that. So that's about as confirmed as you can get, but things do change, but we're going to call it confirmed. For Australia, Kmart's in Australia will be stocking the Brachiosaurus. As for here in the U.S., I think at Comic-Con, they were telling people at the booth that it would be in-store and online at Target around November.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. Didn't we also notice like a slight difference between the boxes that we've seen so far?
The only thing I've noticed is the box that I have, and I think a couple other people received, has the Apatosaur silhouette on the front. Whereas everyone else's boxes that I've seen in the UK have the correct silhouette, the Brachiosaurus. So I'm guessing that probably certain markets are going to have the Apatosaurus one for a little while. I've seen something similar with Godzilla toys and press samples kind of coming out and being a little bit different than most territories, and then seeing it pop up somewhere else with the same kind of configuration. So I'm guessing it's not like a widespread thing. I think they probably just fixed it somewhere early on in the production run, but there's definitely boxes out there with Apatosaurus silhouettes on them. It
is fun to hypothesize, though, whether or not we might get an Apatosaurus sometime.
It is a very kind of essential mistake to make. It is interesting, but yeah, definitely fun to speculate. The last thing we have here is Snap Squad Wave 2 hitting Ireland. I'm sure it's hitting a few other places too, but I just know that I'm aware that it did show up for someone in Ireland. And Wave 2 of Snap Squad, if you're interested, is a all-new Carnotaurus, all-new Dilophosaur, and then there's a paint variation of Indominus Rex, which looks really cool. It's like this iridescent, pearl-esque kind of coloration. I really like it. It's not just the phoned-in clear plastic, translucent. It's kind of got this pearly sheen to it. Very cool. And then I think it's a repainted Rex, sort of kind of in the vein of the green and black T-Rex we got with the Legacy Collection 2-pack. So nice. Those 4 are just hitting in Ireland. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., I think we have a 4-pack on Amazon, but the single pack Snap Squad still haven't hit stores here.
Yeah, it's cool to see that. It is weird, but it's kind of like the Brachiosaurus. It's showing up, in the UK before we get in the U.S., so... just one of those weird things about distribution, the way it works sometimes. But it looks cool. I agree. The kind of translucent Indominus I think is really fun, and so hopefully they'll hit the U.S. before too long. I know we still haven't seen Wave 1 in stores, and I think they had said initially that they were going to be available near checkout, at Target.
That's what they said.
Yeah, so haven't seen any updates on that. Hopefully that does happen because they are fun little impulse buys.
Yeah, I would have thought that it would have hit with sort of the back to school stuff, but here we are kind of winding down and that stuff's not here. So who knows? I still kind of personally theorize that we're going to see some sort of closer to holiday push with Jurassic, with end caps just completely stacked with Indominus Rexes. I really think that's going to be a thing closer to holiday, but we'll see. That's all just conjecture on my part.
I'm Victoria.
And I'm Tim, and we hope you'll check us out online. Obviously, you can find Collect Jurassic at collectjurassic.com. Also on social media, which is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all at /CollectJurassic. You can also get in touch with us directly with our email at collectjurassic@gmail.com.
And you can find me online by visiting the Victoria's Cantina YouTube channel. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Victoria's Cantina and on Twitter at Vic's Cantina. If you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave us a review and give us a rating. You'll help other Jurassic fans and collectors be able to discover the show for themselves.
So thank you for visiting. We hope you've enjoyed your visit to the park.
Please make your way towards the main gate. We hope you'll book a return visit for another adventure into Collect Jurassic World.